Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story Circle. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating young woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
Hi, Gertrude. Thanks so much for having me today. My name is Shilpa Iyengar. I'm based in Miami, Florida. I would love to share my story today. I'm the founder of a modular shoe line called Altair that I started about 12 years ago. And I'm happy to say is now thriving. It's definitely been a long journey full of twists and turns. But I learned one big lesson along the way. So today I'd like to talk about that. How everything you've been told about waiting until you're ready is the reason you're stuck. Because the most important decision of my life started at cheap Chipotle with no plan, no certainty, and no idea what I was doing. It must have been about 90 degrees that day in New York, and I had just graduated from Parsons. I was still riding high from finishing my thesis collection and felt like the world was my oyster. But really, like any 22-year-old, I was feeling very anxious about what to do next and where my life would take me. Would fashion be my career forever? Would I love it? Would I hate it? Could I change my mind if I did? I fought to go to fashion school instead of medical school, and it felt like the weight of proving what I had done was the right decision. If you have Asian parents, you may know the feeling. I had recently been presented with an opportunity to design a collection for a unisex scouting group. This was right after those scandals with the Boy Scouts, so it seemed like a very timely project to take on. The scope was a bit bigger than I could handle myself, so I called two of my closest friends from college. Han specialized in children's wear and Harmony sustainable design. With my background in footwear, it seemed like a great team. I convinced them to meet me at my local Chipotle. Being the post-grads we were, a cheap meal with friends was always welcome. It still is. I walked over from my tiny studio apartment in the sweltering heat and waited in the window bar seats. Once we got our food and settled in, I presented them with the opportunity. I told them that the group hadn't agreed to pay us yet for this job, but it seemed really promising. And who wants to work for corporate fashion anyway, making nothing when you can be your own boss? They mulled it over the sounds of crunchy tacos, and finally they agreed it was worth a shot, but they would keep their day jobs. The next week we met on the floor of my apartment as I couldn't fit a couch in there, and we presented our first round of designs. Just like that, our company was born. Now that first idea, as you might have guessed, did not pan out. And looking back, taking a dubious project with a nonprofit that had very little money to pay us with was maybe a little naive. But by the time we had wrapped that project, we had gotten a little windowless office in Tribeca. It was dingy, but rent stabilized, so if you live in New York, you know that's like striking gold. The atmosphere was very authentic, you could say, and we even rented it out for art shows to make some quick money on the side. Most importantly, though, we had a new shoe idea that we were convinced were going to be our moneymaker. A shoe with straps that would interchange, so you have many shoes in one, saving space in your closet and your suitcase. Something comfortable, something sustainable, luxurious but affordable, the perfect solution. Genius, we thought. Why hadn't someone else done it yet? We already had started the company and our small team in place, so starting our next idea felt like easier than the first one. Felt is the strong word here because we still didn't know what we were doing. We'd only ever made shoe prototypes using my neighborhood cobbler in New York. the how of it was all pretty vague. What came next was 2 years of searching for a factory that would, one, take us seriously as 20-something-year-old women, two, actually make a product which proved to be more difficult to construct than expected with the studs, and three, do it with fair labor and sustainable practices. We signed up for an accessories trade show in year one, thinking that we had plenty of lead time. And the month before the show, we panicked and called them, begging them to delay our booth until the following season, which they luckily agreed to do. 6 months later, we looked on horrified at another round of terrible shoe prototypes from another terrible factory and considered cutting our losses and just closing the company. But just then, a family friend of mine told me of a shoe broker in Brazil he was partners with in the 80s who was still in the industry. So Harmony and I flew down right away. Han at this point had left the business because she had gotten busy with her corporate job, but we went down and we finally found our factory. Hooray! It would still take some time to make the shoes, so we decided to do the trade show with the bridal hair accessories we had made in our spare time. Harmony had a background in jewelry and I in bridal design, so we thought, hey, these are both accessories, let's give it a go. Plus, they wouldn't refund the booth, so we kind of had to. Suffice to say, we didn't write any orders that week, but we did establish a website, do our first photo shoot, and eventually even put some of our products on Free People. All great experiences from when we would launch our big idea. About a year later, in 2015, the shoes were finally ready, so we closed the bridal accessories line and had a big party during Fashion Week. I thought, yes, we finally made it. It's going to be so easy now. We just have to sell them. We launched our website and then crickets. In the next 5 years, we tried everything. Kickstarter, traveling trunk shows, makers markets, holiday pop-ups, fashion presentations. It was like throwing spaghetti on the wall and seeing what stuck. In the meantime, there would be factory delays, the hiring and firing of dubious people, and endless networking that would lead nowhere. This is not to say we didn't have small wins along the way. It was always enough to keep us going, and the business grew, but slowly, so slowly, felt like nothing was working. And then the world ended, which you all know as the COVID pandemic, of course. Office shutdowns and ice trucks with bodies in the streets. The fear, so much fear that we were wearing gloves in the grocery store and wiping everything down when we got home. My father-in-law's cancer had come back, and my husband and I returned to Maryland to help out, especially with no one wanting to come to the house without knowing anyone there. What was supposed to be a week became 4 months. When everything comes to a sudden halt like that, it puts everything in perspective. What should I really be spending my time on? Who should I be spending it with? And how can I create more time for what matters? Our lease came up in New York, and we had a decision to make. Go back to our old life and keep the wheels turning, or embrace uncertainty and take a road trip out west. The decision was, of course, made easier that everything was still shut down, mostly in New York. But after the stress of those first pandemic months, a little time on the road seemed like a little reprieve. My father-in-law unfortunately passed away about 2 weeks after we packed up our New York apartment and hit the road. We actually got the news at a kitschy tourist trap outside of Badlands National Park. And let me tell you, getting back east from the middle of nowhere in South Dakota is no easy feat. But as we cried and looked out at the night sky before our flight back to civilization, I realized life is short and it doesn't wait for certainty. We did eventually make it back out to our car, which was still parked at the airport in South Dakota, which is basically a field. We moved on and grieved our family and our former life. But through it all, I kept the company running. Remote work actually gave me the space to really analyze the business and hire the right team to move the needle. I was no longer wasting time at trunk shows and networking events because they were simply not happening in the shutdown. I realized we should have been spending our resources more wisely. Most importantly, our time. In fact, with all the new changes, we doubled our sales in 2021 as a wave of people were online shopping from home. This emboldened me to keep traveling. 6 months became 3 years, and life went on from one adventure to the next. My business partner, Harmony, started dating an old friend of hers, and when an opportunity came up to move with him to Los Angeles, I told her to say yes. She asked whether it was a good idea to leave everything behind in New York, whether her and her partner would get married. I told her that I had embraced uncertainty and gotten much more meaningful life out of it. So she should too. They got married the following year, and I was thrilled when she told me she was expecting. I too had decided it was time to start a family and then settled on living close-ish to where I grew up. We decided that Coconut Grove in Miami blended the best parts of Latin America with American convenience. After a little time living in Costa Rica, it seemed like a great middle ground for our post-nomadic life. By the time the question of Harmony's maternity leave had come up, we were waiting on something big to happen to take us to the next level. We had tried raising more money, but to no avail, and felt a little stuck. But there was an opportunity to sell with Macy's. A department store had never been our plan, with the usual brick and mortar business style not suiting our capacity. But something in me told me to say yes to apply for this new opportunity to be online only. We've been in business long enough and had a proven product. If not us, then who? Then, of course, life threw another curveball. Harmony decided to leave the company once she had the baby. She had always dreamed of being a mother, and she wanted to give her full attention to it, something that would be very difficult as a co-founder. I completely understood as her best friend, but of course was panicking about going it alone. I'd always said I wouldn't do this business by myself. I simply didn't think it was possible. But the funny thing is, by the time I got to this decision, saying yes so much when faced with uncertainty had become part of my life. I decided to keep the business running. And wouldn't you know it, the Macy's deal came through the same month I found out I was pregnant. When it rains, it pours, I guess. I would be lying to you if I said it was easy. Those were the hardest 9 months of my life. But I stopped waiting for clarity and started moving anyway. I built out a new team to replace some of the work that Harmony did and figured out how to handle the rest. I had to ask myself once again, how could I maximize my time to move the needle for the business and be able to spend quality time with my son? What could I give up to make this yes happen? I told myself the details will work themselves out. And they did. I not only grew the business last year, even restructuring and giving birth and having a newborn, but I already had my best quarter ever this year. Why? Because I found out that saying yes to uncertainty creates clarity. It forces you to take action, to push through discomfort, to prioritize taking the time to find creative solutions instead of spending time maintaining the status quo. It breaks you out of the autopilot of every day. I didn't come up with this idea totally on my own. My dad came to the US with just $70 and big dreams. He turned that into a very successful business because of his willingness to take risks. And he always says to me, there are a million reasons to say no, but you should find the reason to say yes. This is usually in the context of getting me to do something for him. But the seed of saying yes to opportunities definitely sprouted early and just continued to guide me through life. It was not until the pandemic I truly realized the power of embracing uncertainty and how it can help you achieve your goals. So whether you're just feeling like you're stuck in a rut in your personal life or want to start your own business, I challenge you to say yes to the next opportunity that comes up. It could be joining a friend for a pickleball game, even though you've never played, or speaking on your first podcast like I am today. The trajectory of my life was set that fateful day in Chipotle. I was so young, but I felt so sure I was making the right decision. But looking back, that moment wasn't clarity. It was courage. And sometimes courage is just saying yes.
What an amazing story. Thank you so much for sharing today. Wow, you have come a long, long way. Now, what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced in building your business so far?
The biggest challenges, I guess, would be, obviously, the decision to make it to kind of go alone out and leave the corporate track behind. So I think that would be one of the biggest challenges, first decision. The next would be having enough capital and keeping that runway going. And kind of making the business work with your life as you continue living it. I think your needs change as you go through life and you have to make it work. So I think those have been some of the biggest challenges in a very vague way of telling you.
So, was there a moment where you almost gave up, and what was it that kept you going?
So Our first almost giving up was when we couldn't find the shoe factory, and we just had tried 5 or 6, and every sample was terrible, and we were like, "This is not happening. No one can make these shoes." And so we were like, "I guess this isn't happening. So let's just close the business. Let's just do something else." And then at like nick of time, like the right opportunity came, and I think that's been kind of how it always has gone. And more recently, when Harmony left the business, I was like, maybe this is time to pack it up, and that's it. And then the Macy's deal came through, and so I think anytime there's been like the thought of I'm going to close the business, something happens and it keeps me back in. So yeah, so now I've realized to wait for the good thing to come to keep me back in the business.
Yes. Oh, I love it. So, how did failure or these setbacks shape who you are today?
I think it has made me more resilient, and just to not take things so personally. It's not a personal failing, and no, say yes to evolution, not perfection, uh, because a failure is something you haven't figured out how to do yet. So just to keep going. So any setback, I'll just have to figure out the right solution.
That's so true. Now, how has motherhood or other personal life transitions influenced your business journey?
Um, Motherhood has been an interesting part of my journey. Of course, I was restructuring the business while I was pregnant. So that was like a very stressful time. But
Yeah.
after that, I think realizing what was the most important things I had to do in the day, and making time to spend time with my son, it really put things in perspective. Before I would just work until like 8 p.m. And just work on the weekends, work whenever it had to be done. And I think I realized I was wasting a lot of time unnecessarily. And now anything I do is with intention. And working with intention, I think, has created success in the last year since he was born.
Oh, that's beautiful. So, what is one belief that you had to let go to grow into the woman that you are today?
What belief do I have to let go? I think that yeah, everything will be. I guess that things have to be perfect. Like I'd have to let go who my ideal identity was, the perfect identity. I think I had this vision of living in New York and being a fashion designer and this life that it was associated with it. And then I realized that that life wasn't maybe something that really suited me, and where I was going. And life is long, and how could I decide who I was going to be when I was 18? So that's what I gave up. But I'm very happy I did because I have a very wonderful life now. So we'll see what the next 40, 50 years brings.
I love that. That is so beautiful. So, how do you navigate uncertainty and fear in your life right now?
Um, Now I would say that I kind of take a breath. I take a walk actually, or do yoga. Sometimes I meditate, because I think my initial response is to panic, and I
Mm.
think a lot of people have that. But if I think about it a little bit and say like, I'm going to say yes to this opportunity. I'm going to say yes to this. It's okay. Like I don't have to have all the answers,
Yeah.
um, then it's like resetting your brain. You're gonna find the solution. You'll say, "I'll find the solution in the uncertainty. It's fine." So it'll come to me.
I love it. That's a very good attitude. What role does purpose or impact play in your business?
Purpose, I guess. There's a lot of ways. Purpose for myself, I guess, is you know, to do something I love doing, to bring my something I can contribute to the world in terms of the design, and people love the product, and purpose in that way. But purpose also that we give back. We give back to a Restore New York, which is a trafficking place where they help women that have been trafficked into New York, and kind of rebuild their lives. So there is a purpose there, and just in general, like lifting women up through business, showing people that you can do it. You don't have to have $1 million. You don't have to be like a C-suite person in a big company. You can just go ahead, and people will help you. If they believe in you, they'll help you. So I think the purpose of all of this has been um, to do what brings me joy, and I hopefully brings other people purpose and joy through it. So
I love it. So, what advice would you give to women who feel stuck or uncertain about their next step?
I would say go for it. I think you say yes before you feel ready to say yes, because the best time to make a change is today, and the next best time is tomorrow. It's never too late. If you feel stuck, you're only going to be stuck. So if you say yes, what's the worst that could happen? You go back to being stuck. So you can go ahead. See what the road not taken brings.
I love it. How would you define success now compared to when you were starting your journey?
When I was starting my journey, I think I thought success looked like X amount of dollars and an office and like 30 employees and um, you know everyone knowing the name of the brand maybe. And I think today success to me feels like, is it what I wanted to put out in the world? Is it helping people? Is it bringing sustainable fashion into play? Is it, did it do what I wanted to do? And if the answer is yes, then it's successful. And people are learning about it, and maybe they feel empowered to shop sustainably or to just, bring their vision to life. So I think success has been a very different thing for me in this like era of my life.
I love it. So, what has been the most unexpected lesson entrepreneurship has taught you about yourself?
I think the most unexpected lesson is that I am more powerful than I think, because I think the natural thing is to kind of say sorry a lot when you're a woman or you've been told, and to say, to be a little quieter, more accommodating, and to know that people will listen when you stand up. People will listen um, if you make yourself heard. So I think the power within me is something that I found through entrepreneurship.
I love that. Now, in moments of doubt, what inner voice do you choose to listen to? And how did you learn to trust it?
Um, in moments of doubt, yeah, I guess I do listen to what I was saying with my dad, was that he would always say, say yes to things, and because you'll find all sorts of reasons to say no. And so I guess I think when I'm doubtful about something, I think of that and I think, well, I should just say yes, because why not? So yeah, there's a lot of why not in my life, I guess.
It's a good attitude to have because really, why not? What
Why
do you have
not?
to lose? Exactly. A lot of times we overthink things and we want everything to be absolutely perfect before we say yes. And what I think I'm learning from you today is you say yes first and then you figure it out, right?
Exactly.
Oh
Exactly.
gosh. Now, what does your life look like today because you chose courage over uncertainty? When you reflect back from when you started.
I think that my life wouldn't be what it is today without it. I would have maybe worked a corporate job, maybe something more stable. Maybe I wouldn't have gone into fashion. I mean, the most certain thing was to become a doctor in my family. So that was the easiest thing to do, really. Or I could have worked for my parents' business. There's like so many things that I could have done that were much more certain, but I wouldn't have met my husband. I wouldn't have had the friends. I wouldn't have the same child. I wouldn't have traveled. Um, I wouldn't have had the flexibility to live where I wanted. So I think everything I have is because I said yes to uncertainty. And because of that, I'm so much more willing to say yes to uncertain things. Because for me, a certain life can maybe be a boring one, and so um, that seems like the worst thing of all is being boring.
I love it. My last two questions for you are a bit of a thought experiment.
Okay.
In the first one, I'm going to teleport you back to the younger you, this young woman who went into the world of business, unclear of what it was, how it was going to unfold, but just trusting your instincts to keep stepping forward. So if I could take you back to younger you and you were to go back and give her three nuggets of wisdom based on what life has taught you up until this point, what would those three nuggets of wisdom be?
Well, definitely the say yes to uncertainty. Just say yes to it. I think that would be definitely the biggest nugget. Say yes before you're ready, and then I would say believe in yourself. You're young, and maybe you don't know what you're doing, but people will listen to you and they want to help you. And everyone started not knowing what they were doing, so no one got anywhere without any help. Um, and I would say, be well. I guess don't take no for an answer when things go awry. Make sure you get what you want. Um, and people love to go around you. So I think that's probably the third thing I would say. So
You have broken so many barriers, and I can see you don't take no for an answer. This is why you've gotten to be who you are and to do what you're doing. It's absolutely fascinating. Last question is futuristic this time. And I'm going to take you into the future, and we're going to go and meet the 90-year-old you.
oh,
She's
wow.
sitting in her rocking chair, surrounded by her children, her grandchildren, whoever is with you at the end. If we could go into the future to meet this wise woman who's led you up until this point, what will you say to her when you finally meet her?
I hope you enjoyed your life. I hope it was full of adventure. Or you could think back and you enjoyed every moment of it. And when you close your eyes, it brings you peace. That you did what you wanted. You brought joy into the world, and you brought yourself and your self-expression into the world.
I love it. I love asking women that question because a lot of us forget that the wise woman is already in us. She's that quiet voice that prompts us to make these bold decisions, start a company, say yes. So, where can people get your shoes? Tell us a little bit more about your brand.
Yes, of course. The shoes. Yes. So like I said, the shoes are modular, which means the straps interchange, which is a cool way of you can wear one shoe and you can wear the same shoe over and over again with different straps. You can buy them online on our website at altairny.com, which you can see on the screen. You can buy them online at Macy's, and you can also buy them internationally, mostly through Wolf and Badger online. That's the easiest way to find us there. But yeah, we're mostly online. We're in a few boutiques, but mostly online. Yeah, that's where you would find us.
Absolutely wonderful. Now, is there anything I should have asked you and I didn't?
No, I think you covered it all. You covered it all. And more.
Awesome. Done a good job. That's fantastic. No, thank you so much for sharing your incredible story. It always inspires me when I meet entrepreneurial women who have this feisty spirit, who never give up on their vision and their dream. And because you kept saying yes, things just kept unfolding in very unexpected ways. I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned from your story. So thank you for your courage to step up to the vision and the dream. Absolutely wonderful.
Thank you. Thanks again for
And
having
thank,
me.
and thank you to everybody who tuned in today. The Her Story Circle is not just a podcast. We're a social impact movement that brings you the stories and voices of women from all over the world. We share these stories to uplift you, to inspire you, to energize you, but most importantly, to take you from where you are now to where you're trying to go. So please share this podcast with your family and friends. This is an amazing brand that gives you options to change those straps, to be different every single day with the same pair of shoes. So tag a friend. So share this video on your social media as well. I'll be back again tomorrow, everybody, with yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And thank you again for the interview.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye for now, everybody. Thank you for tuning into the Her Story Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates. And join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making her story. Thank you